Radio for Justice brings you up to the minute. News and conversation around the criminal legal system in Colorado and beyond. Welcome to Up to the Minute.
Welcome to Up to the Minute. I'm Tiffany McCoy.
And I'm Ryan Conroe, and we are back. It's Up to the Minute.
Yes. I am an associate producer here on Colorado Radio for Justice. I worked for the radio Inside Wire, inside prison. I just got out of prison. I served a 16-year sentence. I am currently residing in a halfway house, but I'm making it. I'm doing it. I'm leveling up, and I'm going to make it through here.
Yes,
so,
yes, nice. And I'm Ryan Conroe. I'm one of the co-directors for Colorado Radio for Justice. Really pleased to be a part of this work. I was previously general manager for Inside Wire Colorado Prison Radio. I come to this work as a media producer, community-based artist. I myself don't have my own lived experience in the system. My first experience inside a prison setting was also the place where I had my first job. It was KNOM Radio in Nome, Alaska, where I worked a bit in the Nome Youth Facility. And that was a really pivotal time for me. My first job out of college, getting perspective on all the complexities of the system and the way it can be challenging and challenged and often inhumane place, and also a place of possibility. And so I'm so pleased to get to be in this seat today with all of you. So let's talk about Up to the Minute a little bit. What is Up to the Minute? I don't know if you want to describe it.
What is Up to the Minute? Up to Minute is like an up to the minute, up to date, current, what is happening right now.
Yeah, exactly. What is happening in criminal justice reform in Colorado this week? So as a listener or a viewer to Up to the Minute, you can expect hot takes on what's happening in Colorado, in the legislature, in reform, in reentry, and also sometimes deep dives into history, looking beyond the state in trends or updates that might impact us here in Colorado. Shall we meet the team?
Yeah, let's meet the team. Yeah. Our first guest today is Seth.
Hey, thanks for having me, Tiff. Good to see you out here. I was also a producer with Inside Wire, Colorado Prison Radio. That's where I got the opportunity to meet Tiff. So really glad to have her home. And yeah, I'm glad to be here with Radio for Justice. I got my start in radio in Buena Vista through a radio broadcasting course that they offered inside their penitentiary in the late 90s and early 2000s. Fast forward to a few years ago, was able to get on the Inside Wire team with Ryan on the outside, kind of shoring up our newest studio in Buena Vista with our lead producer there, Herbert Alexander, who you'll meet shortly. Yeah, with that, I'll pass it off to Trevor. You want to go next?
Okay. All right. Awesome, Trevor. So we are welcoming you and introducing you to the team who is Colorado Radio for Justice. Seth, Tiffany, I, Trevor, and others you're meeting are our sort of rotating team of hosts of Up to the Minute. So as you tune in each week, you might meet Seth hosting one week, you might meet Tiffany, you might meet Trevor Jones.
So I'm Trevor Jones. As Tiffany has shared, I was also incarcerated for a very long time. I did 26 and a half years. I was incarcerated from juvenile. I've been out for a little over a year and a half now, and I collaborated with many of these beautiful people while I was inside for some great programs, and I'm very excited to be a part of it now. These people have been very supportive of me since I've been out, bringing me into their lives, showing me a lot of help, a lot of love, and I just can't believe we have this opportunity to launch this thing once again. So I'm very grateful and very excited about what we can do with this.
Same. Thank you, Trevor.
And can I just give it over to
Mike
Montoya, the one and only?
Well, you stay here, though, because I don't want people to leave us.
Okay.
Mike Montoya.
Yeah.
How you guys doing today? My name is Mike Montoya. I, too, am formerly incarcerated. I did 30 years and 2 days. I went in as a juvenile as well. While I was inside, I participated in a lot of different programs, was part of the newspaper that few people here were a part of. Now, I've been out a little over a year, and I'm part of a barbershop that helps formerly incarcerated get licensed and become cosmetologists and barbers. And our goal is to, do whatever we can to help people get back on their feet and become positive members of society in any way that we can.
That's awesome.
Thanks, Mike.
Thank you.
Let's keep going through the Radio for Justice team, Tiffany. You want to introduce somebody else?
We're going to introduce another Mike, Michael Clifton.
All right, Michael Clifton.
Hello,
Mics.
what's up, everybody? How's it going? I'm Michael Clifton. I am formerly incarcerated. I had a 98-year sentence, went to prison, was arrested at 19, served 24 and a half years, and discovered arts through University of Denver Prison Arts Initiative. Really been a big impact in my life and helped with my transformation. Was associate producer for the podcast Within. And after receiving clemency after 24 and a half years, now I work with Remerge, and we focus on reentry, helping connect people to resources, trying to reduce recidivism by removing barriers. And I'm really, really passionate and involved in restorative justice, big part of my life, and speaking to the youth and letting them know that they have value. So really great to be here.
Thanks, Michael.
Part of this team. Let's take it to Joy Bell.
Yeah.
Joy Bell Phelan.
I'm so excited to be here right now. I am Joy Bell Phelan. I came to this work from Inside Report. I was the managing editor when I left prison. I also run a volunteer program inside called Unbound Authors, which is in 8 facilities. And I'm also very excited to bring back the Unchained Voices art show. Serving our community inside is critically important to all of us. And I'm also serving as a community corrections board member. So I will be hopefully talking about all of those things in the future.
Yes, thank you, Joy Bell.
Absolutely.
That covers the CRJ team except for one person.
Herbert Alexander.
This is unrehearsed,
Hot
folks,
seat
but
right
Herbert,
over here.
can you leave your post as our videographer and come take the hot seat?
Yeah.
Herbert Alexander, ladies and gentlemen.
I just want you to know that I've been waiting for this moment my whole life. You guys wanted me to rap, right?
Oh, please. Yes. Are you going to? Come on, you can't do that and not rap.
You only get one shot.
He called my bluff. My name is Herbert Alexander. Again, I was part of the first Inside Wire team, one of the first producers, so that was something that I found as a real big accomplishment in my life, coming where I come from. Now I'm out here in the free world. I did about 14 years, got my sentence overturned from a habitual sentence, and the rest is history. And now I'm here just trying to be a voice for people who don't have that voice. You know what I'm saying? So that's what I'm doing.
Herbert Alexander, thank you. Yes, I think, so here we have the team from Colorado Criminal Justice Reform Coalition, and we're going to come to you next. But I have the impulse before we do that, Tiffany, to just share a little bit of context. If you're a new listener or viewer to Up to the Minute, why do we keep saying we're back? We're referring to these past organizations. Let's talk a little bit about that, shall we?
About Inside Wire?
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
So Inside Wire Colorado Prison Radio began its operations in 2021 inside Colorado Department of Corrections. It joined the sort of parallel work of the Inside Report newspaper, which you've also heard about. And these two programs were under the umbrella of the University of Denver Prison Arts Initiative. We operated from 2021 to 2023 inside the radio station, inside 4 facilities in CDOC: Lyman, Sterling, Buena Vista, and Denver Women's. Do you want to speak about Denver Women's a little bit?
It was my favorite job. Okay. Working at the radio station was my favorite job. I didn't want to wake up for anything else in prison, but I wanted to wake up for that. So I was the spot producer, which are commercials, basically. It was a lot of fun. Everybody listened to it. Not everybody, but I would like to say everybody. A lot of people listened to it. I called a lot of different people in there to be on it, and it was just a great time. All the prisons got to hear it in the state. So it was just an amazing opportunity and a thing to help everybody come together.
Great. So this team of hosts for Up to the Minute are all folks who worked in different ways with Colorado Prison Radio and with the Inside Report, as well as the podcast Within. Yeah. So with that context, Up to the Minute was a show we ran on Colorado Prison Radio and sort of were repackaging and growing and changing and advancing to be this Up to the Minute weekly look at criminal justice reform here in Colorado.
Yes.
Colorado Criminal Justice Reform Coalition. We are so pleased to first be in their offices here in downtown Denver. And
I would like to say something about that.
Please say
It
something
is
about
so cool to be here. When I was in prison, we got the newsletters and all the things, and it kind of seemed like a far off distance place. But I came here a couple of weeks ago the first time, and when I talk to people in prison, I'm like, guess where I went to the real building. So I think it's really, really cool to be here. From hearing about it in prison and then actually being here in person.
Yeah, that's super cool. And so CCJRC staff are our featured guest and our frequent contributor for Up to the Minute, as they are the authoritative voice on what is happening in criminal justice reform in Colorado. So we want to take some time to meet the various folks who might often be our featured guests on any given episode of Up to the Minute. So let's give it up for CCJRC.
Yeah.
Maybe we'll start here with Jason. Could you hop in the hot seat for us? And love to ask you to introduce yourself and your role and maybe a little bit about yourself.
Hey everybody, I'm Jason Vitello. I'm the Equity and Community Development Manager for the Colorado Criminal Justice Reform Coalition. I am not formally incarcerated, but it's never lost on me that that wouldn't be the case if chips had fallen a little bit differently for me. I've got a clinical background, spent about 15 years as a social worker, case manager, therapist. I've worked in community corrections, juvenile probation, in multiple different contexts. And I realized early on that I was helping individuals and families cope with their trauma and adapt to unjust and inequitable systems. My job was not to make those systems more equitable or just, and that didn't sit right with me. And I worked my way upstream over the years to find myself here.
Thank you, Jason. Yes. Kyle Giddings, our next featured guest.
Hello. My name is Kyle Giddings. I'm the Deputy Director here at the Colorado Criminal Justice Reform Coalition. Something that popped into my head while I was sitting over there that I should have brought up last time we talked was the fact that I used to be a radio DJ. For Radio Disney. Yes, yeah. There's Wacky Kyle of AM 1690 Radio Disney. Yeah. Back in the day. So there's my little... Yep. So I am formerly incarcerated, did plenty of time in county and 3 years at the ICCS West in Lakewood, better known as Luigi's Haunted Mansion. It's not a great place. And so, the topic that I really care about that I worked on for the past 2 years here at CCJRC is voting rights and making sure folks who are eligible to vote, who are in jails throughout Colorado, gain access to the ballot, and making sure our folks in community know they have the right to vote. So if you're listening to this and you're in community and you have a felony conviction, you think you can't vote, that's not true. In Colorado, you can vote with a felony conviction, so please register to vote.
I didn't know that.
I'm going to register you to vote today then.
Yeah. That's exciting.
Yes.
I actually voted my one and only time 6 days before I got incarcerated. So I'm excited.
Yes.
Yeah.
Thank you, Kyle. Could you rope in your next staffer?
Yeah. Let's see. Let's bring on Manisha.
I'm Manisha Blackburn-Giles. I'm the community organizer here at CCJRC. I come from a background of fetal and maternal health care. I was in Denver Women's doing birth classes and stuff like that. Also in direct service, HIV services, fetal and maternal health care, community organizing, right here in Colorado, homegrown girl. So I'm really honored to be here with this powerhouse team and helping Jason and Kyle both kind of get where they're going and bringing community together to make sure that we win.
Jennifer, our next featured guest from CCJRC.
Thank you. It's so great to be here. I'm Jennifer Dillon. I'm the communications coordinator here at CCJRC. Obviously, this Colorado Radio for Justice project is super exciting to me because my job here at CCJRC is to tell our stories in a way that is impactful to community and also bring in the voices of lived experience. And that's exactly what you guys are doing. So I couldn't be more excited that you guys are here in our home. And I come from Colorado. I grew up here. I think when I look back, the reason that this kind of work is so meaningful to me is I grew up, in poverty of the oldest of 4 kids to a single mom. And my dad had untreated mental illness, and he was in and out of jail a lot of the time. So I just saw that from my childhood. And there's a better way that we can help people, that we can make meaningful change. So I'm here for it. I'll call in Christie Donner.
And we got Christie Donner.
Yeah.
As we settle in with Christie, maybe I'll invite others to relax, find a seat. Trevor, if you want to maybe come settle in here, grab a chair, just so that we can kind of settle in and spend a little time with you, Christie, just getting a little more context, both on you, as others have shared, and also on CCJRC.
Sure. Well, welcome. I'm Christie Donner. I'm the executive director and founder over here at CCJRC, which is an honor and a privilege. I'll have to say that. I get asked a lot, like, what brought you to this work? Like, I'm a successful graduate of probation, so so my lived experience is quite limited. But all I can share is it evolved, right? Because I was working in a law office after college, thought I wanted to go to law school. And it was a criminal defense attorney and somebody who worked on inmate civil rights litigation and stuff like that. And just the layers of my misunderstanding that had to get unpacked, right? Layer after layer, to actually see the reality and the injustice and things that just didn't make sense, even just like not logical. And I remember the attorney I was working for, this is back in the day, I'm dating myself a little bit, but it was one of the first, he did a lot of federal defense, and it was one of the first crack cocaine, powder cocaine disparity cases in Colorado. And, the guy was looking at a life sentence and all this kind of stuff. And we threw everything that we could to try to help this guy. And he changed my life and doesn't even know my name. And so I want to give him honor, because he ended up going to prison for like 26 years. He had a 6-month-old son. And we worked so hard. I was just like a paralegal, or, it was a one-person shop. So I was making coffee, I was getting the copier repaired, I was doing the billing and writing Supreme Court briefs, so all of the things that you do. And I remember coming after he'd gone to trial and he was convicted. And I remember coming back to the office so dejected and heartbroken, and I was crying. And I was like, I don't think I can do this. I don't think I can be a lawyer. I can't do this, because part of it all, and you guys know this so much better, like all of the people with power were white and everyone in chains was black. And that was the first time I had seen that so starkly. Like, you cannot deny what is literally in front of your eyeballs right now. And so I was crying in his office, and he was so kind to me. And he said, Christie, as lawyers, we can only do what we can do. If you don't like the laws, change them. And that was the first time I had ever had anyone suggest that regular people could play a role in driving public policy. I don't come from a pedigree. I don't have a fancy family. I don't have any money. There was nothing about that sentence that felt like it applied to me, right? And so I left the law office and started doing community organizing at the Prisoner Rights Project over at the Rocky Mountain Peace and Justice Center up in Boulder. And shortly thereafter, Senator Dorothy Rupert from Boulder reached out to me, and she said, Christie, the entire time I've been at the legislature, all we've done is defund education to build prisons, and we've got to do something different. So she and then Representative Penfield Tate introduced the first prison moratorium bill in the country back in 1999, calling for a halt on prison expansion. Because at that time, you guys remember what it was like in the 90s, right? Prison population was going through the roof. People were being shipped out all over the country and stuff like that. I said, Dorothy, I'll help you, but I don't know anything about the legislative process. I don't know where the Capitol is. I don't know where the bathroom is. I don't know nothing, right? And she said, don't worry about that. Call everyone who you think will care, and I'll teach you the ropes. And so we were, at that time, the Prison Moratorium Coalition, just ad hoc, man. We just showed up, didn't know what we were doing, and she took us under her wing and brought in a bunch of people to testify on why we need to do something other than continuing to invest in prisons. At that point in time, we've spent almost $1 billion building prisons and stuff like that. And we lost. People laughed at us because at that time, to be asking this question meant you didn't care about public safety, because those two things were seen to be so intertwined. And I got my little feelings hurt that we lost, and again, crying and all that kind of stuff. And everyone in the community was like, what are we going to do next? Mm-hmm. And then what are we going to do next? And what are we going to do next? And so we formed CCJRC is really just a vehicle to bring community and people with lived experience into the Capitol. Here we are 25 years later, right? And probably hundreds of bills under our belt, multiple prisons closed, and lots more still to do. And so we are thrilled that you're here. Please know we think of you every day. Those of you that are still inside, when the times are rough and we don't know what to do, you sustain us in ways you don't even know. So we know you're there, and please know that we're here. And that is what I said to Sean about Sean, who was the kid who was being prosecuted under the powder cocaine case. And when I was in the office, I said, as long as he's in there, I'll be out here. And he's been out for a number of years now, so I can retire anytime because my contract is up. But for 20 years, he's been inside.
Thank you for that, Christie.
Yeah.
We have just a few more minutes left. I'd love to pose a question or two, maybe with your help, Tiffany and Trevor. Let's do this. Let's scooch this way. Trevor, I'd love to have you on the interviewer bench with us in case you want to jump into the conversation too. I'd love to ask Christie, as you just articulated this, 25 years on, here we are. The year is 2025. This is up to the minute. We're in mid-April. What are some of the concerns, the ongoing concerns or questions that you're examining in criminal justice reform in Colorado these days?
It's a big question, right? I think that the sort of the overarching context for us in all of this work, however we come to it, is that we are back in a get tougher and current kind of era. There was there's been a real resurgence back to sort of that old way of thinking. And I think part of what I was really naive about, because we had a good run for a while, people were talking about what works and racial disparity and the impact incarceration has on children and families, and let's invest more in treatment and not incarceration. And that was it. Every level, state government, local, there was I thought we were on a vibe there, that we were evolving in our thinking. And that has quickly proven to be illusory, right? And so I find myself having to have conversations with elected officials or prosecutors or that are reminiscent of when I started. And so I think it takes us back to what is it going to take in this culture to shift our thinking around public safety and accountability and all of those things, justice, and what does that mean? So I think I don't have the answer to that yet. And I think that's going to be what we all need to come together around and kind of think about, because we're still, did get tough on crime, the war on drugs, all of this stuff is really amping up again. For us, horrifyingly, watching white supremacy just on the march and on the run. And very emboldened around that. And where does that lead us is nowhere good. So yeah, I don't mean to be like Debbie Downer or whatever, because there's also lots of inroads and it's the same conversation, but it is not so alone, if that makes sense. There's so many more voices. And I think that's really what's inspiring too, but it does feel a little bit like Groundhog Day. So so all of the things that we were worried about, we still have to be worried about.
Thank you for that. I think we're all so mindful of the urgency of the work that you and your team are doing at CCJRC, particularly right now in the middle of the legislative session here in Colorado. You're giving up your time to sit with us on this show. So I'd love to ask why, for you, in your view, why up to the minute? Why carve out this time to sit with us? What's the value or the impact we hope of this show?
Yeah, because everything's happening up to the minute, and it's just a very shifting landscape, and opportunities pop up where we need to educate and mobilize around. And it's a complicated issue. There's a lot of tentacles to it. So even just being every week, being able to talk about something either broadly or let's go deeper on something, I think is the way to better educate people, because we're so inundated with sound bites and all of this kind of stuff that it's really hard to find opportunities to be really, truly more educated about something. And so I think between the combination, this is perfect, what you guys are doing. Putting together is a real service to a lot of us.
So is there any other staff at CCJRC that you would like to mention today?
Sure, of course. Pam Clifton is been my road dog for over 20 years. A lot of folks will know Pam. She's her title is sort of manager of constituent services, but what that means is she's writing the Go Guide. So if any of you have enjoyed the Go Guide, thank Pam. She just wrote a brilliant parenting from prison guide to help people. Pam spent a lot of time in prison herself, and her family was dismantled from that, and watching her put her family together over the last 10 years or so has been a really beautiful experience. She's sorry that she couldn't be with us this morning.
I do have one comment. I remember seeing the newsletters passed around prison and all the hope that it brought all of us in prison, from seeing all the bills that were up and all the things that could be changed. So just thank everybody at CCJRC for sending those and thinking of the people that are still in there, because it is great to get that kind of news. And on that note, I have to go right now. Like I said earlier, I am still in a halfway house and I have places to be at certain times. So I'm so sorry, but I have to.
Thank you. No, it's good. I love it. Tiffany McCoy.
Thank you.
By way of wrap up, would you like to ask any final questions for Christie? Trevor Jones?
From an inside point of view, you do very oftentimes feel isolated. You feel like you're not connected to anyone. It's not by mistake that all the prisons are built very far from mass population centers. And when you're way out in the middle of the country or way out in the middle of the mountains, you're thinking, no one knows I'm here, no one cares I'm here. And then, as Tiffany said, you get a newsletter where it shows an outline of bills where there's people out here actually talking about you and your situation. You think, oh my gosh, I'm not alone. It resurges hope for you. It resurges your perseverance. It helps you keep going. So I just have to second Tiffany's thank you.
That is CCJRC and the CRJ team. But wait, we have one other host of the Colorado Radio for Justice team for Up to Minute, and that is Bob Eisenman. Bob just walked into the studio. We're doing introductions, so I'd love to hear a little bit of your story.
I apologize, I'm late. I am Bob Eisenman. I did 15 and a half years, and I've been out about a year. I think I have my toes dipped in a lot of different things. So,
thank you. Let's get everybody back up here. Radio for Justice team, CCJRC team, kicking off Up to the Minute. Maybe we can do a little closing for this special episode 1. Let's go around and share just one word that we hope for this show. Kyle, can I ask you to start?
Oh, man. Empathy.
Curiosity.
Truth. Voice.
Relationship.
Mine's hyphenated. Power to the people.
Going viral.
Connection.
Impact.
Community.
My hope is that our listeners will listen from the heart.
Mm-hmm. That was a perfect ending.
But Herbert.
But Herbert.
What's Herbert?
There's
for?
one more.
Let me get in the foreground first.
Subscribe.
Up to the Minute is a production of Colorado Radio for Justice. Tune into our 24/7 broadcast on www.radioforjustice.org. Listen on the app from the App Store and Google Play. Catch this show and other original works shifting the narrative on the criminal legal system on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube, or wherever you get your podcasts. Colorado Radio for Justice.
Up to the Minute is a production of Colorado Radio for Justice. Today's show is hosted by me, Tiffany McCoy, my co-host Ryan Connerow, along with the rest of the CRJ team. Up to the Minute is produced by CRJ, including Herbert Alexander, Ryan Connerow, Seth Reddy, Taylor Hansen, and me, Tiffany McCoy. Catch a fresh episode of Up to the Minute every Monday on our airwaves, and find it on demand wherever you get your podcasts. Thanks for joining us.